So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 222nd episode. In the last 221 episodes, more than 4,000 school leaders have spoken on this very platform where they've shared their ideas, opinions, innovations, and what all new are they doing in the education space. तो नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है ब्लब वर्ल्ड वेब टॉक्स के 222वें एपिसोड में। पिछले 221 एपिसोड में करीबन 4,000 से ज्यादा शिक्षाविदों ने इसी प्लेटफॉर्म पर अपने आइडियाज, अपनी शिक्षा में वो क्या क्या नया कर रहे हैं वो बताया, और शिक्षा उनके साथ क्या नया कर रही है वो हमारे साथ में साझा किया। तो अगले 60 मिनट जो आप हमारे साथ में हैं, विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, समथिंग विच टिपिकली इज वेरी क्रिटिकल फॉर अ टीनेजर, mundane for a college guy, and a regular question for a school principal. तो इतने सारे एस्पेक्ट से एक बड़ा आसान सा छोटा सा सवाल जो कि बहुत क्रिटिकल क्वेश्चन हो जाता है व्हेन वी टॉक ऑफ लाइफ चॉइसेस। इसकी क्रिटिकलिटी, बच्चे की सिचुएशन, उसका शहर, उसका एक्सपेक्टेशन, उसकी एस्पिरेशन, इन सब का एक ब्लेंड है। So we'll try to know from the experts that what do they think are the critical factors when you decide that which career stream do I want to opt for. आप अपने जीवन की राह में कौन अपना 80% ऑफ योर लाइफ टाइम किस चीज को देने वाले हैं, किस प्रोफेशन को देने वाले हैं, ये आप कैसे चूज करेंगे, उसके क्या क्या एलिमेंट्स हैं जिससे you'll be able to make a better decision. So before we start this session, just some ground rules. So think of the Blub World Web Talks as a speaking sprint. It's not a speaking marathon. इसे 100 मीटर की रेस के जैसा देखिए. So your speaking time is limited, and once your speaking time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity crisp and entertaining for everyone. Secondly, it's a bilingual platform. So आप अंग्रेजी या हिंदी में से कोई भी भाषा का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, because भाषा ज्ञान का पैमाना नहीं है, उसे उतना ही रहने दिया जाए. तो it is better. Let's not politicize language to another level. Let's work more on the democratization of ideas. So before we start this session, I would request everyone who's listening, who's tuned in to us, if you have any questions during the conversation, you can, feel free to put your questions through and we'll try to answer them while we converse. Again, the topic for today is factors a teenager must consider when selecting a career. जब आप अपने जीवन की बहुत एक इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजन के लिए कौन कौन से ऐसे एलिमेंट्स हैं, कौन कौन से ऐसे फैक्टर्स हैं जिसको आपको कंसिडर करना चाहिए जब आप अपनी करियर चॉइसेस करें. So a very good evening once again and a very warm welcome to all of you. Let me start this session by inviting the first speaker for today. Let's have the university perspective first and then the school perspective. Very warm welcome to Mr. Parth Sarwate, the director for the Office of Undergraduate Admissions and Financial Aid for Ahmedabad University, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Parth ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Daksh ji. This is a very interesting platform, and I think 3 minutes is a lot of time to talk about what factors students must consider, and it's a long list actually. But I'll talk about a few things. I think the first thing I want to talk about is how the world is changing, and in the world that we are going to enter, there is going to be a lot of opportunities. There are going to be new technologies. There's going to be a lot of change that's happening. 20, 30 years back, there were no mobile phones. Now we have mobile phones. Today, we don't have flying cars, but 30 years from now, there'll be probably all flying cars. So the world is going to change a lot. And along with the world of opportunity, children are also going to see a lot of uncertainty. Whether it's pandemics, whether it's war, whether it's social unrest, or even things like climate change. These are going to be also a factor that they're going to see in the next few years. Things are going to change. So while you're going to see opportunities, you're also going to see uncertainty. The third thing, which is inevitable now, is the rise of machines. They will see AI taking over jobs. They will see automation. The McKinsey Global Institute actually put out a report a few years back saying that by 2030, around 800 million jobs will be lost to automation, which is almost 1/3 of the jobs on the planet. Now, in such a situation, how do you really choose a career? So what you need to do to choose a career is you need to learn to do what machines can't do. So what you need to do, and I'll probably talk a few things about what machines can't do, is they can't think and solve complex problems. Sabse pehle, we have to understand that today solutions are very complex. things which cannot be solved just by one stream of knowledge have to be solved by multiple people coming together to solve a problem. And that's called a complex problem. It cannot be also solved in immediate time. You can't sit in a room and say, okay, I'll solve this problem. It probably has to be solved over time, like climate change. So machines can't solve complex problems. You have to understand social issues. Only people, machines can't understand people, but people can understand people. So if you understand people, you will have a job. The third is to be compassionate. Machines can't be compassionate. And it's very important that we care for the world around us, care for the flora and fauna. And other things that machines can't do is they can't judge and evaluate, and they cannot ask the right questions. If you want to solve the right kind of problems, you must ask the right questions. So this is the crux that you must try to understand. And see, there are many careers out there. Okay. And before I sort of talk about what you should consider for a career, the interesting thing is that, earlier people used to go and join a job, and then they used to stay in the job for 20, 30 years. The world of tomorrow is not going to be one job. It's going to be many careers. Your knowledge is going to become obsolete. So you need to continue to learn and commit to lifelong learning. That's what is required. And therefore, look for careers where it's rewarding, where, you have enough opportunities. Don't choose something like the Indian cricket team where there are only 11 spots. And then, you are struggling to get into those 11 spots. So choose a career which has lots of opportunities. Be open, try to learn a lot, study diverse perspectives. Diverse perspectives will help you to solve problems in the most unknown of places. And that will mean you'll have a job. And do something that you feel connected to. Don't try to do something where, you are not, it's not going to be helpful to you. So I think I'll stop there for the time being. And then if you have any other things you want to know, I'll be happy to share that.
Thank you so much, Parth. So I think some very good things that you talked about and initiated this complete discussion, that it's going to be a world of opportunities and uncertainty. ये दोनों आपस में fight करते रहेंगे. इनका paradox है जो अब हमें आगे वाली generations में जीना है. The rise of machines, 1/3 of jobs being lost to automation, learning what machines can't do. That can we really make humans now capable enough that they are able to trump the machine? So the challenge here is that for higher level skills or skills that a machine cannot acquire, it's very difficult to raise the complete of humanity beyond mediocrity. But that's the challenge that now we need to face when we talk about the careers in the future. Machines can't understand people, and machines are not compassionate. So does compassion and understanding people, do these two critical skills really become a factor when you try to decide a career? Or kaun se aise factors hain? What are those more different aspects to this decision that you must be considering while you choose a career? Thank you so much, Parth. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Anjana Pandey, the principal of Mount Litera Z School from Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. Anjana ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Go through, get into what Sir was telling us. I've jotted down a few points while I was preparing this. I was just pondering over the topic which you've put in place in today. It's very important. Career is not to speak, give a more introduction of the part what Sir has already briefed us about. So we proceed ahead. Coming back to the specific points, see, we have to understand at the school level, we need to generate the interest of children, the passion and the skills, to get them molded into a career graph, what I believe, with the students I'm catering to. Then, of course, academic strength and preferences that comes there. We've got, of course, later as they proceed to the classes, how are their educational qualifications being taken over and the trainings they are getting from us. Then we've got to understand when once they reach a level of +2 level, they can ponder over what job opportunities they can explore with that kind of subjects they've chosen. Now, yes, that can be industrial, cultural, and future prospects too, looking into that area. That teachers at our end can help them when we talk about life skills, when we have certain lessons apart from the regular academic core. We can talk talk to them, we can enhance their thinking skills based on these points, which I'm trying to tell you. Financial goals also were very, very important. When we've got financial literacy coming up in school, coming up at school level, we children need to understand their financial goals also. And when we the pay structure comes at the very last end, when they are very, very equipped with all these points which I am talking about. Then basically we need to understand, the students need to understand the priorities set for themselves. They need to set priorities. Make a list of certain areas where they feel they can work later. Career assessment, very, very important. They need to have an assessment, a professional assessment. I have heard parents saying it's a sheer wastage of time and money, but it's not that. A complete guidance is given through a test which they are taking, and the guidance is there. Research about each position. The child can research, the students can research. And finally, what Sir also quoted, I would like to say, one should be open to everything. It's not only we become engineers, we become doctors, we become professionals, we can become entrepreneurs. The NEP is giving us so much of leverages where we can become entrepreneurs and give employment, cater employment to people around us. Of course, Sir's talked about empathy, the emotion. Yes, we can cater to that and not machines. I would like to sum up here. We can give a chance to the next person. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anjana ji. Graphing the career that you want, focusing on academics, where do you really stand in that? Aapki academic performance kahan pe hai? And what does it direct you towards? Vocational skills, financial goals. What kind of financial goals does a teenager have? And what do they visualize that they'll have 5 years or 10 years down the line? Pay structure. If they get into an industry, they must look not at the size of the industry, but at the scope in the industry. Ki kitni badi industry mein aapke liye kitni jagah hai, and what can you get out of it? Setting their priority. I think prioritization in itself is a very big skill that most of the adults don't have. So I think it should be a dedicated course for teenagers. That how do you prioritize things? Career assessment by professionals. This is something that, when we specifically talk of India, is typically a luxury in the education space, but I think it must become more of a necessity now. That how do you facilitate more of psychometric tests, how you get the right people to give the right kind of guidance without, any strings attached to it. Being open to multiple careers. So I think this typically sums up what Anjana ji said. Thank you so much, ma'am, for adding these points. Let me invite the next speaker for today to take the discussion to the next level. Again, bringing everyone's focus to that, trying to identify the factors, the elements that would help you make the right decision when you're choosing a career. So let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Aparna Gautam Panda, the principal of St. John School, Sector 7 from Faridabad, Haryana. Aparna, ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Good evening. And thanks for this opportunity. So straight coming to the point, I feel while aligning with the previous speakers and your point of view and all the things which are very much required as on date, at school level, what I feel we should be developing the social, emotional, and spiritual quotient of the children, because these things AI will never have. These things cannot be automated. If a child is having very evolved social skills, very evolved skills which makes the child happy in communicating whatever the child feels, and which enables the child to spot the gaps which can be worked upon, where the child can innovate, because robots can only do whatever they are being fed with. They cannot have out of the box thinking. For that, we always will need human beings. Lekin uske liye zaruri hai that our emotional quotient should be evolved, our communication skill and other skills which help us experience other human needs of the society, needs of the environment, needs of the individuals, where we can tap, where we see the gap, and we have that innovative a creative approach to fill that gap, that thing will really help individuals in exploring their professional domains later on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think you started with social, emotional, and spiritual skills. When we talk of going beyond the machines, going beyond artificial intelligence, what are those critical skills that we must be giving to a teenager? Social skill, emotional skill, and spiritual skill, and because these are the skills that AI hasn't developed yet, and we are hopeful that it won't develop itself in the future, because most of robotics, most of automation, most of AI works only on past knowledge or past trends. And humans have an edge over that even without past trends, we can work on creative solutions. That's where we become a little better than the machine. So this is something that must be developed, and they must also be given a perspective into looking at the society from the need perspective. That can you really identify the needs in the community, the needs the people have around you, and can you give it a solution? Because that's where all the business, all the enterprise, all the solutions, all the community building really happens. That are you able to find a gap and give it a good solution? So thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Bini M, the principal of Hosur Public School from Hosur, Tamilnadu. Bini ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Good evening to all the participants. Now today the topic is actually a hot topic, which nowadays children used to think a lot, because a lot of opportunities in front of us. At the same time, we are confused regarding the same. Whenever they speak to us as principals, like they used to share the same thing, that we are having a lot of confusions regarding plenty of opportunities in front of us. That's why we are really confused. That's why here what I advise is, first, as the previous speakers told, the aptitude is the most thing. That is exactly the aptitude. But at the same time, scope is also equally important. But thirdly, you have to think always about the working style or pattern which is provided for your job. For example, if you are focused on a nurse job, night shifts will be there. That is very important for your family life. That's why these all patterns also, because even if we are getting a higher salary and financially, if we are focusing, we are getting earning, yeah, that is quite good. But at the same time, we won't be able to manage our family life. That's why family life also should be a concern when you are selecting a good career. That's why these all things also you have to focus. And another thing is that too much of advisors, actually, whatever they see, what is my parent, what is my cousin, otherwise, what is my big brother, like whoever it might be, whatever we see, we will be always focused. If you are coming from a teacher's family, you also will become a teacher. That is a trend which is followed. But actually, my aptitude, whether I am fit for the same, that is the most important point that we have to look around. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bini ma'am. I think trying to summarize what you said, opportunity overflow, since there are a lot of options, it becomes difficult to take a decision, where do we go? But when we go into that, considering your attitude or typically introspecting and trying to understand yourself as a personality is important when you take this decision. Secondly, always look at the field that you've chosen. What kind of working conditions does it offer? Do they really match up to your personal choices, your family choices? Does it give you a work satisfaction at the same time, gives you time for having a good personal life? Family profession influences the decision a lot. That's something absolutely true, because they've seen that kind of life, they've seen that kind of people, so they surely get attracted to, okay, let's do this, what has been happening around us. But does that really match up to your personality is something that every individual must consider. So thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Devidayal S, the Vice Principal, retired from BPCL Kochi Refineries School from Kochi, Kerala. Devidayal ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. I was listening to all learned speakers are discussing about the various points to be considered by teens. Am I audible, sir? Okay, very good. That is mainly the children are having so many childhood fantasies. During their childhood, they used to say that if you ask a question, what do you want to be, or try to what you would like to become, I want to be a policeman, or I want to be a driver, etc. They will say. But this childhood fantasies need not be considered by the teens, because after an age of 10 or 14, it would automatically vanish. But as Bina ma'am has told, that aptitude and attitude are still more interest, and the interest and passion of a particular teen, of a particular boy or a girl, what is his interest? What is his passion? But nowadays, parents are compelling, teachers are compelling, because I am a doctor, so my son also should be a doctor. I am a chartered accountant, and he also should be a chartered accountant. But the child does not want to become a doctor. The child does not want to become a chartered accountant. But parents are not allowing to choose the children as their own way. So I have a child, I have a student who is very much passionate, very much passion in music. So let his hobby, that is his hobby, let their hobby to be their job, their work. And so I supported, and the parents did not support, but he went in his own way. So his hobby is now his profession. Now he is a very well-known music director of film in Kerala. So that is his passion, that is his hobby. Okay, but some children want to know which is the best lucrative profession. One of my students asked me, sir, which is the best lucrative profession? I told that many are there, that what is your interest? I want to get maximum salary, that's all. So I want to be, somebody told her that to be an actuarial science, studies actuarial science is a very good lucrative job. But this particular child does not know, she doesn't have a mathematical skill or computing ability, she does not have. But she's still trying to become, because going after money. So that is another consideration. So as somebody said, the emotional and the social, that is affective domain. As in Bloom's taxonomy, affective domain, there's values and social relationship also to be considered, because parents alone are home, but the children wanted to, nowadays, everybody wants to go abroad and choose job there and leaving their parents here. So that social values and emotional feelings, sentiments also children should consider nowadays. That is my humble opinion. And still, that is, then there are some people who cannot be in a particular defined framework and structure. They want to be their own. They cannot obey somebody. Their egoistic feelings do not allow that. Therefore, to such people, such students should consider to become their own boss. They can become their own boss by making some startups, and so that they can give employment to others. They can order. There is no time framework within the time, or they need not go at 10 o'clock to the office or sit up to 5 p.m. or they need not work at the, so everything, that freedom is there for us. So such people who want to be that is a free bird, that is at their own profession, self-employment, of course, is suitable for them. So I think that I have taken enough, exceeded the time. Therefore, let me conclude. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Let me try to summarize what you said. All the career choices literally start from childhood fantasies or from infatuations. Even when a teenager is trying to decide a career, it typically starts with infatuation. But that journey from an infatuation to passion is what we need to facilitate. I think that's where the actual decision making happens. That how do you move from a lower, shallow choice to a deeper, more understood choice of things for you as a career. Salary being the only focus. Now, does that journey really end well is something that needs to be studied more. That when we only look at the pay structure and we don't look at the kind of aptitude or the kind of capabilities that we have, this is something where the challenge really comes in. Either identify the passion, also along with the passion, try to identify the skills that you have. Until unless you are not filling that gap in the industry, you aren't getting paid. So to get paid, you will always need a blend of all these things coming together. You talked about the effective domain from Bloom's taxonomy. You talked about considering emotional values as well while you take a call on your career. And for the people who prioritize freedom over everything, entrepreneurship is for you. But I would suggest that only looking at this aspect of entrepreneurship is not enough, because there are many more challenges to it that come into play once you get into entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Kalyani Balkrishna, the Director Education for Paramakkavu Vidya Mandir, Thrissur, Kerala. Kalyani ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Mr. Daksh, and to all my co-speakers. An interesting discussion going on. And to continue with that, yes, as you say, what we ask the children is knowing what is important for you, knowing what you like, and knowing what you are good at. Because at the end of the day, I feel being happy, and happy is very important in life. So if you, as Mr. Devidayal said, if your passion is your job, then you're not working. And it creates a lot of, it does a lot of good for everyone if you enjoy what you're doing. Now, today is one opportunity, as the first speaker said, there are lots and lots of opportunities. But the fact is that most children are not aware of it, that what are the opportunities and what are the skills that is required for those opportunities. So earlier on, it was only the academically good ones, who went in, the usual doctor, the lawyer, engineer. Even in a small town, this still prevails. Now, these are the kind of professions in a big town that people look for. Now, there is a good sports person. As a first speaker said, he cannot be in the India 11, but there are IPL teams with so many league matches coming in, lots and lots of opportunities coming up for him. If he's not a player, does he know about the sports, management courses that are coming on? I believe the team requires 20 support staff. So the kind of opportunities that are there in these kind of fields. So a person who is good at dramatics or theater or this, he has the OTT platform coming up so much in today's world, the opportunities. So guiding these children, I feel at the school level, if we could give them detailed kind of guidance on these, what are the skills and guidance. So they feel there is something for me. Everybody feels that, yes, there is something for me. I do not have to sit and slog and go for tuitions and go for entrance exam. That is one thing I feel. And then the 21st century skills. Today, as we say, we're looking at a world where we're looking at jobs which have not been created, technologies which have not been developed, problems which we don't even know what is going to arise. So what we require basically then a professional career is a set of skill sets which make you adapt to any situation. Working in collaboration, communication skills, critical thinking and creative thinking, as you said, something that AI cannot take over. Working in teams, being a leader, productivity, innovation. So these are the things which if we build up in our children, they would be fitting in any digital literacy. How to use that is very, very important. The media literacy, information literacy. So these kind of skills, the 21st century skills, if our children are sort of good at it, I think they should be able to fit into a number of areas. It's not the time we are not going to them. Today's children don't work for 20 years and 30 years. They just work, they jump, and then there are people who work for 10 years, collect, make enough money and go into the patient. There'll be a computer engineer running a fast food joint because that was his passion. So today, that is the kind of world we are talking about. So, umpteen opportunities, they need to be guided well and told, made aware of what are the sort of implications and the choices. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me try to summarize what you said. You talked about less awareness about the new professions. Because even if you look, if somebody wants to be a cricketer and if he's not able to become a cricketer, what are the other opportunities or the background, fields that are available for him? Can you get into sports management? Can you get into media management for sports? What kind of opportunities can you explore around the passion that you have? It's not necessary that you might be able to get into India 11, but if you cannot get into that, can you get into something that helps that India 11 work? So you'll have to be more, elusive about your search and how do you get a little bit deeper into kind of professions that you want to get into. You say that that's a big challenge in most of the small towns because there is no awareness on how are careers evoluting. What are the new opportunities that are available? Adaptability being a core skill becomes more and more critical with uncertainty in the times. Media literacy, and what we see right now is a complete generation of jumping professionals. People who don't stay into a profession, who even don't stay into an organization. There are no long career trajectories anymore. There are basically small stints that you do in your career. Careers also have, most of the professionals, it's a gig economy now, anywhere and everywhere. People now don't get into an organization for 10 or 20 years. They get into an organization for a gig. That gig could actually be a year to going to a maximum of 2 or 3 years. People jump now. So when this kind of an economy comes into play, what are the core skills that you'll have to develop as an individual to stay relevant for the next 10 or 20 years? So thank you so much, Kalyani ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Sindhu Pillai, the principal of Mar Ivanios Bethany School from Kalyapuram, Kottarakka, Kerala. I hope I pronounced it right. Sindhu ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Okay, very good evening to Daksh sir and all the panelists. I'm Sindhu Pillai. I'm from Kottarakara. It is a small town in Kerala, South Kerala actually. Thank you for inviting me. And this platform is a fresh one for me. At the same time, I've seen that the speakers have come up with wonderful points. Such a platform gives so much of exposure to our students, and before they come up or before they choose a career. So continuing from here, I would like to point out certain factors, most of which had already been discussed, like number one, interest and passion a child should have before opting for a career, because it is this passion that motivates the person to continue or go about with his with the career that he chooses. Second thing is about the skill a person do have. Specifically, I would like to point out that skills can be segregated as innate skills and attained or achieved skills. Innate skills can be sharpened up through passions and through interest. But given the consideration of the present scenario, we need to be very much knowing about the different type of skills that are required for the job market. Because as our earlier speakers have said, jobs are getting changed, new opportunities are arriving. So what is happening in the job market? What are the needs of the job market? And how a child can get up to that, train up to that, or learn up to that is a very essential aspect. So achieving skills, training themselves to that desired skill is very important. The second thing is about a career objective. Every child should have a career objective, which I do say that should happen from an early age, from a very early age. Here, schools can play a very important role. Teachers can identify the skills in children, the interests and passions in children, and they can develop that skill of the child so that he will have a good choice before him by the time he is completing his senior secondary or secondary level. And their parents also play a very important role. The parents can also identify, discover the skills and the talents the child have and sharpen them and help them to choose the career that the child needs. But again, the question comes whether a parent is ready to accept the choice the child is making. Because as earlier speakers have stated, doctor's child definitely would doctor would like to have his child to enter into the same profession, goes for many of the professions. But I do feel like children should be given the freedom to choose what interests them more than what the parents have to force upon them. And here, schools definitely have to play a role in bringing about that awareness among the parents and also help in children to make that right choice for themselves. And at the same time, when the career objectives are stated, few things that I would like to add is about the job that the person seeks or the job that he's desiring for. Is it giving him the right exposure? Is it giving him the ability to learn qualitatively as well as quantitatively? Qualitatively, I would like to say a job enables him to learn and expand himself to a very better level, to a higher level. Quantitatively, as many of our speakers have spoken about the financial growth of the job. Next, and the most important thing that I would like to share is about how much the child is able to contribute to the society. The job that he seeks definitely will bring him qualitative as well as quantitative enhancement. But what more can he contribute to the society? How much can he bring about a change in the society? And given these points, I would like to state my point. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me try to summarize what you said. You started with identifying the interest and passion, taking it to how do you assess your individual skills? Are those skills innate or are they achieved skills or acquired skills? If they're acquired skills, how do you polish them so well that you're able to create, a profession out of it? And if you have innate skills, do you have the right kind of passion or drive with it that you're able to monetize those skills? Because the biggest challenge when we talk of the skill discussion in career choices is the monetizability of that skill. That if you have a skill, do people pay for it? Do people pay very good for it, or they just pay a little bit for it? Because how do you sustain life is what becomes a challenge when we look at the skill perspective of it. You very well mentioned about job skill mapping, trying to understand the kind of skills that a job requires, and do we really fit into that? Career, understanding your own career objectives.
First of all, a very beautiful thought shared by all the educators. And thank you to Blub World for this beautiful platform for sharing all such discussions. First of all, as an educationist, as a do's and don'ts, a beautiful topic thrown to us. According to me, a teenager, before selecting any career, they should take care of the few factors. The most important one is a self-satisfaction, his own interest, and not to prove him or herself to anybody, but just according to the aptitude and its ability. They have to move forward in the selection of a career. But unfortunately, in the present scenario, what I saw and observed is maximum goes on high salary package. A quick switching is there on the basis of a status and thus high living standard without thinking about their mental peace. So the instability and so many other problems are raising because of this. Though by the grace of God, national education policy is now implemented, and now a lot of flexibility introduced in the education system, which is required from years. Like practical knowledge and the skill development are most important on a school level. Without that, a child cannot gain a particular field knowledge, or he cannot pursue himself after 12th into the practical world. Like if I am going through what 6 to 8, this is a grade where a certain skill-based courses now introduced by Central Board of Secondary Education as an important, indispensable part of a school curriculum, like horticulture, apiculture, tissue culture, embroidery, as per the interest, health awareness programs and all, which are very necessary to give them a practical exposure. If a simple example I will take of a NEET examination only, a lack of students are aspiring, those who take biology for medical field. After preparing this examination, they are not aware actually about the procedure which they have to follow in this particular field to become a doctor. Only they are aware about the name of the courses and their time duration, that's it. A mental preparation is required before you choose any care, where you are going, what are its aspects, what you have to do it by gaining this particular career, what are your duties. So while selecting a career, we have to just go along with our interest with complete information about the same. That is from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Self-satisfaction must be the focus when you decide a career. Do not just follow, try to figure out is what you talked about. Right now, the major factors that are considered is basically the status of living that you achieve once you get into a profession and the kind of numbers or the salaries that you make into it. And most probably, even when a student gets into biology or gets into tries to get into a profession, the only thing that they know is the name of the courses. They haven't gone beyond that, or even scratched the surface of understanding that profession. That what would I actually go through? What are the steps to it? What's the sequence of things that happen with me once I get into that profession? And one good thing that you talked about is with the NEP coming in, we are now talking about new vocations getting into the school. I think exploration is something that must be given a little more importance now, because experience-based decision-making for careers is now nearly obsolete, because now the kind of careers, the kind of world that we are getting into is something that we haven't experienced. So now experimentation and exploration of careers should be given a little more of importance at the school level, so that our decision-making changes, our attitude towards decision-making changes. So we've listened and heard to all the speakers today that what do they think are the critical and important factors that when you choose a career. Now, the next 5 minutes is an open floor. If you want to add something to it, if you have missed the point, if you got muted, if there's some challenges, some new thought that has come into your mind, please feel free to unmute yourself and share that. The only request, do take care of each other, so that if you're speaking, the other one also gets the time. So whoever wants to speak, you can just unmute yourself and take a minute for that.
Thank you so much. I wanted to mention 2 more points here, which I was just trying to recollect when our speakers were there addressing such valuable information. We always look at the teenagers, look at the brochures, the attractiveness, what a company is giving you. But when we don't analyze the reality, as you rightly said, you just mentioned, So just whenever the career counselor or we are counseling or we're talking about careers to children, we need to make them understand that the brochure is not life. We've got something beyond that. So always we have to make them live and understand and let them be in reality. We cannot force them, or we cannot bring them to the world of fantasy, as somebody said, rightly said. Then secondly, I also think that there are certain certain areas where we meet failures. And when we meet failures, we simply should look at failures as opportunity. We should tell students, these are the opportunities where you can do better and you can excel beyond by your experiences, why failures occurred. Three categories I've jotted down, which I would like to mention here, if you allow me. Environment, basically the environment, what the child is being brought and is catering is there. Then opportunity, of course. And then, personality. The kind of personality you are. There's always said, birds of like feather flock together. I think most of us have heard that. So in a positive direction, if we help the child to work, of course, getting organized into a career will never be a difficult front. So over to you.
Thank you so much. I think one important skill that you talked about that must be taught is media literacy, that how do you go beyond marketing communication? Can you look at a career beyond that brochure or the communication that has been sent out to you? Over to Aparna, ma'am.
Thank you. So listening to all the worthy members, a couple of things I just thought of. Because now the situation is very fluid. It's ever changing. So I think from very beginning, parents as well as teachers and the whole society, we should focus also on developing the crisis management, change management skills, conflict management skills. Because if children do not know how to manage a change, because now it is not that, ma'am rightly said, that if a child feels that I'll become this, not necessarily the child feels happy later on being there. Child might change. Child might have to moderate oneself, may have to change the course of his life, may have to make a different life choice. So in that case, the children will need change management skills, conflict management, stress management. And these skills we feel that later on can be developed. But it's my first-hand experience in school. We see a child who has been exposed to these challenges from the very beginning and has been helped to understand these things and to adjust, to adapt. Such children later on, they make very wise decisions and failures do not disturb them. Many a times we see these days, like Shark Tank also shows so many stalwarts who have changed so many professions and now where they are. They have not failed in life. So it is also very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Change management, crisis management, again getting critical. ये वो skills थी जो पहले joint families में सारे बच्चे अपने आप सीख जाते थे. But now since they're nuclear families, now they are skills. Now we need a curriculum around it, because now these things don't get taught on their own. So thank you so much. Over to Parth, sir. Parth, over to you.
Thank you. This has been a wonderful discussion. I'll just add three things. I think one thing, just for emphasizing it, what Sindhu ma'am said. I think you must try to see something where you can make a long contribution, lifelong contribution. I think it's very important because that will make you feel happy and that will make you feel connected. I think the second thing is, a lot of discussion happens on interest and passion, but it's a very difficult thing to find. I'm sure many of you will agree that, you can't find it within school years itself. It's very difficult. So keep exploring, keep doing broader things, keep searching for that. It may not strike you at that age. It may strike you much later. Take things which will help you to explore more. And the last thing I want to say is, something that Usha Kiran ma'am also said is to know more about the career, do some reading of non-fiction. I think as Indians, one of the things I see really critically low in India is our ability to read non-fiction. Read about that domain, try to go to websites of universities, see what the course actually means. I think those are very critical. If you can do all these things, I'm sure, you at some point of time, you'll find that interest, you'll find that depth, and you'll be able to keep learning.
Thank you so much, Parth. Over to Kalyani, ma'am. I think a very important point that you talked about, how do we inculcate the habit of reading non-fiction? हमसे सीधा साधा content नहीं पढ़ा जाता, हमसे fiction, stories, ये सब हम पढ़ लेते हैं, because Indian appetite is for, drama. We are a complete nation that looks out for, suspense and drama. We don't look at non-fiction. And when you want to choose a career, you have to go beyond fiction. You have to read content that relates to that profession, dig a little deeper. Thank you so much. Over to Kalyani, ma'am, please.
Mr. Parth was talking about doing something for the overall betterment in future. So this kind of thinking, I feel, has to start right from the big thing. Like normally, we always ask children, "Bade hoke kya banna chahte ho? What do you want to be?" So in that, the question is, what do you want to do when you grow up? No, it's a little more of reflection. Okay, I want to help somebody, or I want to, like to take care of dogs. I like to do this. So that kind of thinking, you being and what you like to do for others. So that slowly, that kind of thinking in youngsters it is a long process, but that's how it comes in small steps. Another thing is children now. You have a lot of children going abroad, seeking earlier it was only the post graduation. Now the undergrads are all going to foreign countries. Another thing they don't know about how to the credentials that is required, the resume. Most people they don't know how to go about things. Again, awareness, knowledge, as Mr. Parth said, reading up about it. What is it that they need to know? Different universities have different criteria for admissions. How do you go about it? So these kind of awareness, as I always say, from school level, this thinking has to be cultivated from school level. So by the time they reach the higher classes, that reflection and that this kind of an inquisitiveness develops in them, rather than just I want to be so and so. That's what
I think we must evolve from that basic rudimentary question that what do you want to be? Let's not ask this. Let's ask what do you want to do? Because ये बहुत important है समझना कि आप when you are selecting a profession, you have to get into that karta bhav. Until unless you don't get into that okay, this is something that I want to get involved into, that's not a decision that you're making. Because career decisions must not be done; they must happen. It's a process of evolution. You only have to guide them to that direction so that they go through that evolution. Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to Sidhu, ma'am.
Okay, sir. So just adding to all the points that our speakers have stated. The first thing is about wise decision, the ability to take right and wise decision at the right time. The second thing that I want to point out is regarding, particularly we are speaking about teens, they run after glamorous jobs. So that should not happen. Children should not be running after glamorous jobs because it's never going to be sustainable. So saying that we have to, like being a parent or being a teacher or being a principal, we are the ones who would be able to support them and give them the right choices before them by helping them derive out a proper decision. And at the same time, there are many industries and all which run internship programs. Children can join such internship programs and learn about the job market, learn about what is happening in the job market and what are the skills that they require to enter into the job market with the right trend. So that's all. I place my point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think Devidayal wants to add something. Devidayal, over to you, but we are nearly at the conclusion. So try concluding in a minute or so. Over to you.
Right in the beginning, as Parth sir said, there are so many opportunities available because this is an era of machine learning, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain management, everything is there. But so now the topic here is what are the things to be considered by the teens in selecting a career. Now, I would like to add to this that what are the various things that we as educators should provide to the students also, that is, it is our responsibility to give information about all these opportunities to the students and let them decide whether they possess the skill and ability to do that and let them choose the career. And because there are so many children who are choosing the wrong career because of ignorance. They do not know where these courses are available, whether where this job is available, how to approach, how to study blockchain management, everything, data science, because many wanted to become a data scientist, but they are not aware where this data science is being taught. Therefore, such information definitely they must get. Then only they will be able to choose to make the right choice for the right job they can make. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So actually percolating the right information to the last mile is something that's become a challenge right now, because with multitude of professions, percolating everything to the last mile is really a big challenge. And when we specifically talk of a country like India, it's a white elephant. Nothing moves very quickly. It moves very, very slowly. So from our end, when, at the Blub World Foundation, we work on a very simple idea of teens inspiring teens. We try to find out teenagers across the world who are doing amazingly well, and we try to share their stories with many more teens. So before this session comes to an end, one such story for all of you. Till now, we have documented thousands and thousands of children. So one story which typically tells you the kind of stories that we identify. There's a little girl in Australia who started her painting career when she was just 4 years old. Had her first professional exhibition of her paintings at the age of 7. And she right now is a millionaire and is only 14 years old. And she was on the cover page of Blub World just some months back. And she is Elita Andre, who's the world's youngest professional painter. And this is specifically what we do every single month, trying to find out teenagers who are doing amazingly well in life and share their stories with many more teens. Because the challenge with a teenager is that he is revolting and he does not want to get taught. So the only way to give them a direction is to inspire them. And that's where Kalyani ma'am talked about a question that, what do you want to do? And that's where we framed up a small little question and we asked teenagers that answer this question. And that question was, how will I improve the world? And since last 2 years, more than at least 2.5 lakh students have answered this question. And we have elected 100 of them as the members of parliament of the World Teen Parliament, where every year, 100 teenagers who give the best answer to this solution, to this question, and are able to solve a problem, we train them, we mentor them, and we fund them so that they can really improve the world. And most importantly, when they go through this journey, this is a journey for self-realization, for a lot of introspection happening for them. So introspect more. And I think before the session comes to an end, let's figure out the right questions, because teenagers can figure out the answers. Thank you so much, everyone. This was the Blub World Web Talks 222nd episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, and if you want to attend the future sessions, open your audio and say a big yes, and have an amazing evening ahead. Namaste.